watching the Potsy and Tino show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world, the road dog Tino Gray, the badass Rob Potsy Potchak, the Potsy and Tino show. If I look like I'm looking down, it's because the camera's actually above me now.
Right now you're frozen, so you're looking down, but you're frozen. It's like this.
Oh, am I? What about now? Am I still frozen?
Yes.
Really? Huh.
Yes.
Well, let's just switch back to the other camera. How's that? Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to get this I have to have like a USB hub to be able to have the iPad plugged in to try to use the different camera. And earlier, dude, so I don't know when, our theme song is always brought to you by Adam's House Cats called The Wrestling Song. I don't want to forget them. It's available for 99 cents on iTunes and wherever all your music is found. So I I just looked it up today because I'm thinking about getting the 13-inch iPad Pro because it'll be easier to draw and whatever on it. And the new one, I mean, has like the best screen they've ever created, and it's only 0.5 millimeters thick, and like all these things that really don't mean shit to me.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that means the most to me is storage space, speed of the system itself, things like that I'm actually going to use, because when you're drawing with the pencil, as you run out of space on your iPad, it slows everything down. So
Right.
You want everything to have as much speed and conformity to everything that you do as possible. So I wanted to do that. But then I started going, when I first got this iPad Pro, I asked you, I was like, hey, do you know if we can hook the external camera up to it and, actually use it like a studio? And you were like, I don't know. And then
I know I can do it with my MacBook, but I don't know if I can do it if you can do it with the iPad.
Right. So apparently when I want to say iPad OS 17 or whatever came out, which was like last year in like June or July. So obviously we've been doing the show for so long at that point on the iPad that I wasn't checking it every week to see like whether or not it was available now. Well, apparently they did add that external support. So now I just plug the USB camera into it, and we're good to go. So like right now I should be able to sit there and go, oh, HD Pro camera, there we go. Which the picture does look better on it when it's up and running. But if I freeze, then who knows? So I think when you and I are sitting in the same room, this Logitech camera that I have is probably going to be what we use, so that way one of us can actually hold the iPad and read the comments and everything as they're happening. Anyways, we always start the show off, but the other part of that I just wanted to say was that I plugged in my Yeti X for the microphone as well, and for like 5 minutes both of them worked, and then after 5 minutes it wouldn't work anymore.
It says screw you.
It pretty much. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and unplug all this stuff because the iPad actually corrects the lighting for us anyway, so I don't need all this crap over here because it's like banging into my legs and stuff. So, Tino, we always go over what's up with you. So I know that I just started with some of that because hopefully at some point we upgrade some of our show stuff. But while we don't have that yet this week, what's been going on with you?
I'm sending you this. I'll just take a picture because I want to show you something. For some reason,
Am I frozen again?
No. But yours looks grainy. I don't know why.
Oh, well, hold on. There's a couple different options here. So how about that one?
It's a little better. I don't know why. I figured
I
with the iPad it'd be clearer.
well, I think what it is that because I was playing with the settings, it moved it
Oh,
all
that's
around.
just. Oh, so what's up with me? So we did last Monday's show Tuesday.
That definitely looks worse than normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, I got mom's stuff together and I took her back home and got her situated. Got my office back. And I was like, yay, office. But because yeah. Because it was time. I mean, she's still sore, but she's able to move around in her house. And I made sure everything was set. Went to the grocery store, stocked up on stuff, made sure she was, comfortable before I left. And then Wednesday was her 20th anniversary. I was telling you, we went to Angus Barn. I asked Nicole, I said, where do you want to go to eat? Not thinking. And then she said Angus Barn. I said, ouch. And then I told my wallet, and my wallet said, ouch. And but it was
Your wallet was
cool.
like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. But it was cool. So we got you've been there. They started off. We had the cheese. Oh, the cheese was fantastic, and you could buy it there too. I wanted to buy some of that cheese. So we had the cheese and crackers. I got the steak and a baked potato. She got steak and the twice baked potato or whatever it was. We told them it was all right. They asked why are you here. We said anniversary, so they bought us this pound cake. It's about that big around, and it had the candles and the strawberry on top. And then they brought us okay, you got that's free. But here is our other
The entire plate
desserts, right? So the other dessert. So she had
of
I
dessert.
had, yeah. So she had the blackberry. I think it was the blackberry cobbler thing, and I had the apple cobbler. It was good. So we had a good time, a good dinner. Um, then Thursday, I went and checked on mom, and she was doing good. Friday, Nicole left. Her mom came Thursday.
So
They flew up. But
I gotta stop you because you're the Angus Barn thing. Did you try to stop upstairs to see my mom?
they were busy. I did, but they were busy. It was crazy. So I was like, I didn't want to bother her.
My
So,
mom really, I'll tell you right now, Tino, at 75 years old, she would have stopped what she was doing, and she would have just like she'd have been like, "Do you guys want the tour? Do you guys want?"
oh,
And she, I mean, I'm not kidding. My mom does it to everybody. Like if you go up there and you're like, "Oh, it's Rob's mom," and blah blah blah, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, hey, it's Tino," and then literally she'd probably sit there, look at her tables, and be like, "I'll be right back. I've got to give them the tour. You
I
had
know.
the tour last week. I got to give them the tour."
I know, but they were busy, and I didn't want to bother her. So I was like, I'll see her again. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And then, so like I said, Nicole's mom came Thursday. They flew out Friday to New York. They'll be back the 3rd of July. So it's just me and Matthew, because Matthew stayed behind because it's freshman year. So he's trying to. It's like they're doing their football camp. So he's got it every day, 7 to 9. So just me and him chilling. Saturday I went to check on mom. So no, well let me go back. So one day last week, I don't know if it was before Nicole left, I dropped Matthew off because he had to be there at 7. So I dropped him off about quarter till. I got home. It was a little before 7. I'm like, I'm gonna mow the lawn before it gets hot, right? So it takes me about 45 minutes to mow the lawn. I got done by 8 o'clock. Tell me why my shirt was sticking to me. Why is it hot as balls at 8 o'clock in the morning?
So you're absolutely right, and it's because my air conditioning went out last week before the show. Remember?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So or the week before that, before the
Yeah.
show, like my air conditioning went out, and like I at least got lucky because at 4 o'clock in the morning it finally dropped into the 60s. So I was like, oh, I'll just leave the windows open. But it was 82 degrees at like midnight when I'm going to bed before it finally just said, hey, the bottom's going to fall out, and it fell to like 68, which allowed my house to get to 76 that night. But because it was Sunday that it went out, and then Monday I was able to get it fixed. Which again, spray ant killer around your outside unit.
So
Um,
I say all that
Yeah.
to say Saturday when I went to go check on my mom. So while she was here, she had blankets because she got cold. Saturday, when I got to my mom's house outside, I remember before I got in the truck, I looked at the temperature gauge on my truck. It said it was 95 degrees. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I opened my mom's door and the heat smacks me in the face. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in here?
What is it with old people, man?
I walked in the house and went right to her thermostat. I thought maybe her fucking, I said, oh God, her air is out. It was 91 degrees in that house. She had gotten cold the night before and turned the heat on and forgot. So she's in there sweating.
So
And
it
then
didn't cool back down because
I,
it was on heat. It wasn't on like auto circulating cold and heat or whatever.
no, it was on heat and it was on auto. I knocked that shit down till I boop, 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 got to 66 trying to get that shit to cool down. And then I was like, and I had to cut on the fans in her house and she's sweating and she goes, oh, I don't feel good. And I felt dizzy. I'm like, because it's 91 degrees in this damn house, mama. And she hadn't eaten yet today because she was just laying in the bed because she wasn't feeling good because she was hot as hell. So I had to make sure she ate and make sure she took her vitamins and shit like that and tried to make sure she was nice. And I got her something cool to drink, try to cool her off. But I was like, I got to the point where I'm like, Mom, it's too hot in this house. I can't even think. So I was going to help her do some more shit. I'm like, I can't even think. Because my shirt was starting to stick to me. I'm like, I can't even think.
You probably could have opened the windows and cooled it down just with breezes.
That's what I was about to say. When I walked out the house, it was cooler outside than it was in her house.
Dude, we get that way every time my mom has a like when she goes, oh, it's Easter. Everybody come over to my house. I'll get a ham and we'll put everybody. And my mom goes, we'll put all 16 of us around one table.
No.
And it's like you see the size of all of us. Yeah, my mom's a lot smaller. Shorty's a lot smaller, but we're big people. We're not small people. Like there's 16 people. No, I'm gonna sit in the living room. Or
you and Shane. and then you got Dave's not that big.
well, Dave lost a lot of weight. So, but yeah, so but my mom's house, every time we go over there, like okay, Easter, I think it was like 68 outside. It was beautiful. It was perfect outside, except it was pollen season, right?
God.
So you can't go outside during pollen season because then you just walk in and you're covered in yellow flower cum. But
flower cum.
So you can't do that. But my mom the house set to like 76. Now, right now, my house is set to 70, and that's the warmest I like it being in my house. I like it about 68. Okay, but 70, I'm willing to do because I'm like, well, that'll cut my energy cost down. Not by a lot, but every bit helps, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, so anything else happen with you? But my mom's the same way. It's always like 76 in her house, maybe 78 sometimes.
If Nicole had her way, she'd have it around 75, 76. When we first got this house, we got this house 05, so almost 20 years ago, and it was in the summer, it was in July, and we moved in, and she had the thermostat, and I knocked it down to like 69, and she bumped it up to like 73. I'm like, okay, all right. That night, we got ready to go to bed. We got into bed, and I turned on the ceiling fan, and she's like, ooh. She's like, "Who?" I said, "See, this is where you make a choice. Either I get this ceiling fan or I get that thermostat." And she went and she got another blanket, put it on her. I'm like, "No."
And so I'm gonna say right now for everybody who has a person in their household that's always like, "Oh, it's so cold." Grab a fucking blanket or put on a fucking sweatshirt. Like grab a.
She's forever in like her pajamas, and she's got blankets, and she's got on like. I'm like, it is not that cold in this house. She's like, it's freezing. I'm like, you can't see your breath. It's not freezing. It is 71 degrees in this house.
Take your
freezing.
Take nitric oxide. The stuff that eats. Like you've seen all these TikTok commercials for that nitric oxide purple goo that they drink on there because they're like, oh, it'll open up all your blood cells and it'll make pressure.
And now Matthew's walking around in like his pajama pants and hoodie. This motherfucker, I woke up one morning like, why is it so fucking hot in my house. I went looked at the thermostat. The shit was on like 77, 78. I said, Matthew, he goes, I didn't do it. I said, no, your mama knows better. And I didn't do it. So it was you. Don't touch my thermostat again.
So you gotta get one of those. You got to get one of those lock boxes for it. You know,
No.
that hotels and shit.
Nope.
Because you know,
I
as
ain't
soon
got
as down, it's going to be. But I don't. Okay, I don't understand how Matthew is cold. I like he is too young to have bad circulation.
I don't know. He's just, I got it from his mom. I guess cold natured. I am hot natured. I can't, like Nicole's up in New York and she's like, it's like 90, like 95, 96 degrees and it's humid. I'm like, that's why I don't go up there in the summer. And when we got married, that was an agreement we made. It's like, I'm not going up in the summer. And she's like, that is fine with me because she knows I will get pissy and cranky. She said, yeah. She tells everybody if Tino went up there, we'd be divorced. Because I was like, I can't do it.
You know, I don't. So there's another thing I don't understand. When I went up to upstate New York with Shane and Michelle one time, and it was, you know, get to hang out with Shane's mom and go to the restaurant that he talked about. Like every time you ever talk to Shane, he talked about how his parents owned a restaurant, how they still own the restaurant to that day and whatever. And we'd go play golf while we're up there and everything. And I don't know how any place in the world survives without central air.
Because her grandmother's house does not have central air.
No, none of these places do up there. Like,
but they have basements. Nicole said she went down in the basement. It was cool in the basement because that basement apartment. She went down there and fell asleep.
Those basements are actually underground.
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember we had a basement at when we lived. We didn't have one in New York, I don't think, but we did have one when I lived in Pennsylvania, and it was dank and it was cold and it was amazing. Like that's where our Nintendo was. That's where, you know, like.
Yep.
Actually, I don't even think we had a Nintendo back then. I got a 1984 Nintendo came out.
Might have been Atari.
I think we moved up to New York in 1984. So yeah, like, but our house in New York did have central air because it was a new construction. But a lot of those houses are all like 200 years old, and they're just.
Yeah, I think her grandma's house was built like in the 40s or some 40s or 50s.
Yeah, and they just don't retrofit for that. Like, did I ever tell you what my first car was? It was a red Ford Escort, 1984 Ford Escort. Now, by the way, it was a 1984 Ford Escort that I wasn't able to drive until 93. So it was a 10-year-old car already because, you know, in 84, you buy an 83, you know. Well, it was the Slim Pickens special. You know, like remember how like you'd always see cars advertised in the newspaper? Kids, I don't know if you know what newspapers are, but it was this black and white thing that you would get every day thrown to your front yard, and you'd have to go out and get it from, you know, before the sprinkler hit it. Anyways, my dad went out and bought like the cheapest Ford Escort ever. I mean, like plastic seats, you know, like yeah. So I mean, it was a piece of shit special. Okay, it didn't have air conditioning and it didn't even have FM radio. Okay, and then to add insult to injury, no power steering, no power brake. So imagine having to turn the wheel like 2 full rotations to get it to turn. Kids today don't understand, man.
My first car was an 80 Chevette.
Oof.
Yeah.
Now my second car was an 89 Ford Escort because my parents just kept buying the same piece of shit car. but so that car, by the way, the red Ford Escort that I had, the 84, was so hot inside it. How hot was it? It was so hot inside it that my dad actually made his own sunroof in it to open it. Yeah, he actually like, my dad used to be super into doing shit like that. So he actually like cut the ceiling out, you know, the roof off the car and actually put it in, sealed it, made sure that it didn't leak, everything. And
wow.
and I ran that car. I ran when I got it in 93. It was from both my sisters who had learned on that car, right? I got it, and like 6 weeks after I got that car, the shocks in the back of it came right up through the back end of the car. And of course, I have no idea that it is rusted through underneath there, right? So I'm still driving on it. You just hear the car going.
It's like a damn donkey. That's awesome.
Oh, so bad because like literally when my dad finally like or I think my uncles came down and they were like, yeah, car's not supposed to make that sound. And then my uncle like got under the car and he was like, oh shit, like you're gonna end up popping tires because the back end of the car is gonna hit the tires.
Well, time to get rid of it.
At that point, I was given the other car because that one was finally toast. But yeah, so many like such a piece of shit. I mean, AM radio, dude. Like, luckily back then, AM at least had a sports talk radio station, so I was at least able to listen to that. But oh my god, it was
Man,
horrible.
at least my 80 Chevette had it was AM/FM cassette.
I think no, this one did not have the cassette. It had the two knobby turns
Mm-hmm.
and everything. Yeah, it was like that little orange line that you would sit there and have to figure out like and off by any little bit you were getting nothing.
And you're trying to get it right, just right.
And the only stations you could get the one sports radio station, and then other than that, the only other thing you could get was like 60s.
Country.
No, not even country. Country had all moved over to FM by the time I got.
That's awesome.
Hey, so what's up with me? Just so you know, this past day, Immortal Ultraviolent finally hit stores. It hit shelves. People can go out and get their copies of it. The people that are reviewing it are saying it's excellent. So go out, check it out. The thing that I'm really proud of is that in almost every single one of the reviews I've heard or seen for it, they've talked about how the coloring on the book was really good, and that that's the first book that I actually colored myself. So I was quite proud to hear that like people are actually talking well about it.
I wanted to ask you, what did you had your the things you took to get graded? You never said what they were graded at. The metal covers.
So I've only gotten 2 of them back because I did not tell you that they screwed everything up when I went to get them graded?
Mm-mm.
All right. So the first morning I was like, oh, I'll take 2 of the Immortal books over there. I'll get them graded because then I should get them back quick, right? So I go over there to get them graded, and they're like, oh, you're a creator. That means you get to witness your own signatures, and you get a special rate for it. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, I had no idea. And it's like half the price that like it normally is. But then they go, but if you want to get it today, you pay the full price because they're not doing any specials for being at the show. They're just guaranteeing that you get to take it home with you like by the end of the show, not wait for shipping and everything else. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. Can you like walk me through the process so I can set it all up and everything? So they walked me through it, and I noticed that it's still pricing me at like the artist rate and everything, and then on top of the artist rate, it's also saying that it's offering me it's telling me I have to pay for shipping, and I'm like, but I'm supposed to be picking it up here. And the guy's like, yeah, it does that to everybody. Don't worry about it. Just click here. So he clicks the button for me. So I'm like thinking to myself, oh, they still gave me the artist pricing, and the shipping only cost me anything if sorry, I just saw something come up about exclusive covers for one of the books that I brought over to Keen Spot, which we announced this week, which I was getting ready to talk about too. But so anyway, the next morning after I've gotten Michael and I walk over so that we can get him witnessed and try to get him signed up for the artist plan too, so that he can start doing it with his own books. And they're basically like, oh, well, we can't sign you up for that here. You gotta go through like this other thing to get that. So he's like, okay, well, can you like give me the information so I can do it? And they're like, sure. And then they're like, yeah, but we can still witness your signatures here while we're waiting and everything. And I'm like, cool. So I get all that done. So then like, I guess that was, so Thursday I did it. No, Friday morning I did the first 2, which is the Immortal books. Saturday morning I did the other 2 books. Then all of a sudden, like 4 o'clock Saturday, I get a message that says, "Hey, your books are ready." Right. So I'm like, "Oh, sweet." So I go over, and they're like, "Okay, your confirmation number." I'm like, "Well, I have two because I did two yesterday, I did two today." So I show them the first one, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't have that." And I'm like, "Well, I did that one yesterday. Like that one should be done." And she looks at it, and she's looking through the invoice, and she goes, "Oh, you picked this one to be shipped." And I was like, "No, I didn't." She's like, "Well, that's what it says." And I'm like, "But that's not what I said." And she's like, "Well, what do you?"
Oh
I was like,
shit.
"When the guy clicked the buttons, I said I don't want it shipped. I want to pick it up at the show because I want to sell it here." And she's like, but that's not what it says. And I'm like, "Well,
Fix
fix
it.
yeah, fix it. Like whatever, just fix it." And she's like,
Fix it now.
"Yeah, exactly. Fix it now." And she's like, but that's not what it says." And she just kept saying the same thing over and over, like it wasn't gonna change. And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And then I said, well, "What about the other ones?" And she goes, "Oh, they've been completed. They just haven't been brought down yet. So you got to wait until they get brought down, and then we'll send you a message and whatever." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, no big deal." Well, I don't get that message until like 11 o'clock Sunday now, which is the last day of the convention, right? And they go, "Yeah, I get the message that says you can come pick them up." So I go to pick them up. They didn't put Michael on the thing. So even though there's two signatures on it, they didn't put him on there. And I'm like, "Ma'am, they messed this up." And she goes, "How?" And I was like, "Well, you see that there's two signatures on here, right?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "It only says there's one signature on there on the thing." And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's definitely an issue." I'm like, "Am I going to be able to get these back before the end of the show?" And then I also asked, "Is there any way to get those other ones that aren't supposed to be shipped that they're saying are going to ship?" And she's like,
That's
she's,
not what it says.
well, no, this other girl was really cool. She even said, "Hey, I'm gonna," because I had to wait in line to work my way up to get that stuff. So I mean, I wasn't at my table because I was waiting in line for like 40 minutes. So anyway, sorry, this is going longer than I wanted it to, but she basically she's like, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna call somebody right now and see if these can go up as soon as they pick up more books to take up there to do all the grading and everything and bring them back down." Now, to your question, what did they grade at? The two Zor books, one of them graded at a 9.8, which is typically the highest score you can get, but they do give out 9.9s and 10.0s. And I was like, how the fuck did this not get how did one get a lower grade than the other one, first of all? And how did they both not get the perfect score? Because I mean, you saw these books, that there was nothing. Like the only thing that I even said could have caused the difference in score was the fact that the one had a fingerprint on it before they actually put it in the capsule. And I was like, you would hope that they would just take like a cloth to it or whatever and fix that, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, so I still don't know what the Immortal books are because they shipped them now. And I don't even think they shipped them to me yet. I think they shipped them to Florida or wherever they're doing the actual like finishing of them or whatever, and it's pissing me off. But but uh but when I finally got so the young lady, her name was Summer. She was really cool. She was like, as soon as these get recapsuled, I will let you know. And I was like, "Okay, so you'll call me?" And she goes, "Yeah, if your phone number is right, I will give you a call." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then she goes, or I said to her, I was like, "Can I also skip the line?" And she goes, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay." So I walked all the way back over to my table. I was there for like 15 minutes, and I get a phone call, and she's like, "They're done." And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious? Like that? Like, like all these other books have taken 2 full days, and you got it fixed in 15 minutes, So I walked back over and they were fixed. Now, one of them was still a 9.6 and one of them was a 9.8. So when I brought him back over to me and Michael, I was like, "Michael, I think we're gonna fight." And he goes, "Why's that?" And I said, "One came back as a 9.6 and one's a 9.8." He goes, "I'll take the 9.6." And I'm like, "Oh, you're so nice, man. Thanks." But
Cool.
now he's in the database and everything else, so now he can sign his own books and everything. So that's kind of cool. But now I know that I can send mine, and it's supposed to give me like rush delivery back, and it's like half the price of the other ones. So I mean, like, You know, I think at some point I've got to start like an Etsy store or something where I sell my comic books out of it.
Possibly.
Other than that, the only other thing I really did this week is I went to go see Inside Out 2.
How was it?
I enjoyed it, but there's a difference between old school Pixar and current Pixar. And I don't know if you noticed it when you watch the films, but there used to be a lot of like a lot of heart involved in them.
How do you mean?
And what's that?
How do you mean?
So like when Andy gives the little girl the toys, there's just something in there that like expresses how people are supposed to act. You know, like the inner goodness of people and how like that's still something special. The last time I think I saw it was, did you see Soul?
Mm-hmm.
So Soul like really hit me. Like I felt like it was just an emotional like trip. And partly because like I understand the constant struggle of trying to be an artist in the world today and trying to finally make my break. And what if all the and in 2016 I could have had a heart attack. You know, so that movie like to me there's a lot of heart in that one, right? But like this one, it, it was a coming of age story, but it didn't really have that heart that so many of their stories do. It was really about, okay, the girl's now going through puberty, and obviously she gets different emotions based on that. So now she's got anxiety, and she's got this, and she's got this, and she's got depression, and so of course like the whole story is how, well, now that she's a teenager and she's going through puberty, she doesn't have joy anymore.
Hmm.
So it was good, but like I was waiting for like that one heart wrenching moment, and there really wasn't one.
Yeah.
So and the girl at one point has an anxiety attack, and that's like the big craziness of the movie. um and I don't know, the best way to describe it, like the way that I feel about Pixar now, is that they're they're in, as a company, they're in their adolescence, I would say. Even though they've been making movies for like 20 years, they feel like they're teenagers when it comes to making movies compared to like all these major giant studios.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, and and it's almost like they keep making these decisions to do these adolescent style movies. Like what was the one, Red, about the red panda, where apparently that one was all about like going through puberty as well. Um, and I always look back to the reason why I didn't make junior high horrors high school horrors was because, one, I didn't like the name, and two, I didn't want to write about that stuff. I didn't want to have to deal with the struggles of puberty and everything else, because I didn't want to teach kids about that. I didn't think it was my spot to do that.
Right.
And it almost feels like now Pixar is doing that, and I don't like this one had LGBTQA plus overtones or undertones, maybe. I don't even know if they were overtones, but the girl goes to an all girls hockey camp, and of course is smitten by one of the other girls. Now they never jump into a relationship or anything else, but the one is definitely like gaga over like what the accomplishments of the other one were. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like it's literally just something that I never wanted to have be part of the aspects of what would go on in junior high horrors.
Right.
And again, it's basically because I don't think that I'm a health teacher. I shouldn't be teaching kids about sex. My experience with it, unless I want to actually sit there and write like a semi fake autobiography. But otherwise, yeah, that was like the only other thing that I did this week. I kind of just chilled for most of the weekend and whatever. I finished watching White Collar again because White Collar's coming back. I don't know if you heard that, but
Mm-mm.
they're um, the guy that plays Neil, the guy that played Peter,
Excuse me.
Tiffany Deason, and the creator and showrunner of it all have basically said, yeah, we're all in. The downside, you used to watch it, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend watching all 6 seasons. But the downside is that the bald guy Mozzie, unfortunately, his actor passed away. So they're trying to make sure that they do the character justice in a way that like does something special for him while not recasting Mozzie.
So you think they'll probably acknowledge the fact that he passed? Or you
Yes.
okay.
And the way that I think they'll end up doing it is that there'll be one last caper, and it'll be like because he was the conspiracy theorist and everything else.
Mm.
So like I could see them doing it as like a limited series run, like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, something like that, and doing it where like it's all just to from both different directions because well I don't want to ruin it if you decide. I mean the show's been off the air for 10 years now I think, but the idea was that the one guy was a career criminal who was helping the FBI close like cases about like art thievery and stuff like that. But at the end, he gets shot, he dies, but yet they leave it open to where it's like, was it his last con? You know,
Got it.
and so I could see them both coming from different angles to try to find Mozzie's hidden treasure.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's kind of where I would see that going. Another Suits apparently is coming back with Stephen Amell as the as the lead lawyer for Suits
The
LA.
only thing I want Stephen Amell to come back is motherfucking Heels.
Well, you heard Netflix picked up Heels. They haven't picked it up to make new episodes yet, but they did pick it up to see whether it'll be running on Netflix for 2 seasons. And if it does well, just like with Cobra Kai, you could see them actually making new episodes after that.
Yeah, but when is that going to start?
I think it's next month.
Okay.
In fact, it might be like next week.
So are they going to put both seasons, or are they going to like the first season, then they're going to make you wait, and then do the second season?
They're dropping both seasons.
I might go back and binge watch those.
And I'm all caught up on The Boys. Episode 4 came out last week for season 4. Man, there is a lot of people that are pissed off at how woke the show is. And you've watched up to this season on it, right?
No, I kind of was slighted off because I hadn't really caught up on it yet. So why are we woke? How are they woke?
Well, so the showrunner is basically sitting there saying that like Homelander is pretty much like a superhero version of Donald Trump.
Oh, shit.
So now all of a sudden people are like rating bombing it on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, saying that like worst season ever. I can't believe that you ruined Homelander like this. And it's like Homelander was always fucking crazy. In fact, this season he is so fucking crazy, Tino. If he doesn't win the goddamn Emmy, I don't know who they're gonna give it to, because there is no better actor on TV right now than Homelander.
Oh shit.
And I am not even playing. The only reason why they might not give it to him, and by the way, their show was up for Emmys galore last season, but the only way they're not going to give him an Emmy is because they have that superhero negative bias against them, and that would be the only reason why they wouldn't give it the credit it's due. And but there is nothing as good as watching Anthony Starr as Homelander this season. I mean, he's got like a weird tick every time someone like does something. Like he keeps telling people to do shit, so they're doing it, and he's like, will nobody stand up to me? Will nobody tell me I'm wrong for sitting there telling you to blow him? Like like all this crazy shit. And then like he's just got this weird tick going on it. He's like and nobody can do that like him. It's just insane.
I might have to go back and catch up.
Well, if you do decide that you're going to catch up, you've got to watch Gen V as well. Because like season 1, 2, and 3 of The Boys, then you watch Gen V, and then you watch season 4 of The Boys. Because it's all in the same universe.
Oh, okay.
Gen V is basically the kids going to school that are supposed to become the next agent. So, okay, well, we've talked for 40 minutes at this point about random stuff. I know that a lot of people like us talking about the random stuff, so I don't mind it. But like, yeah,
There's not. I mean, there's stuff, but it's not really a lot going on. There's certain things I do want to talk about in the wrestling thing, but there's not a lot that that's caught my eye.
So where do you want to start? Which show?
Hey, let's start on Raw. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
All right, so I we know how Raw ended, so
Yeah.
so let's talk about some of the other stuff first.
I want to hit on that, but first let's hit on this before we hit, because that was an important part of it too. I keep wanting to call her Mandy Rose. I'm sorry, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan and this Dominic Mysterio. I still think Dom is going to end up being with Liv.
There's a lot of people that are rumoring right now that they think Finn Balor is going to be the one that ends.
Yeah, because he took the room key card.
Yes. Now he took it, and originally I thought he put it in Dominic's pocket.
He put it in his pocket.
Put it in his pocket. Yeah. And of course, I love his angle on it, which is I just wanted to get it away from Dom. It's like, duh.
Because now they're saying, now I'm reading reports that Rhea will be back before SummerSlam. Now, maybe not clear to wrestle, but able to do backstage stuff and be able to be at least on screen. So that's going to get interesting.
I mean, bringing mommy back is definitely going to do something. But dude, this whole like I don't know why you call her mommy when I want to call you daddy is all happening, and I'm sitting there going, I'm for it, man. Like I love how online on Twitter and whatever, like what's her face, Malachi Black's wife. She's sitting
Selena Vega.
She's sitting there, writing stuff like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you want to touch that mullet. That's so disgusting."
Get it right. It's a Kentucky waterfall.
I mean, no. I guess that would be like the Rio Grande waterfalls.
No, yeah, he definitely has the Eddie Guerrero, and now with the mustache. I don't know if I like the mustache.
Well, I don't like the mustache, but he's definitely got that
skeezy.
He's got that Ondale Holmes. He's got that look to him, and be thankful Vince McMahon isn't around at this point, because otherwise he'd probably have a fucking sombrero. Like, it would be black and it would have purple tassels.
I don't know if he'd have the sombrero, but I definitely think they would lean more into the Eddie, and he might be coming out with a lowrider.
I'd be okay if he came out with like something that looked like the Batmobile every week, like because of the Judgment Day look.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Drew, what you want to say about Drew?
I don't like what they did with him on Friday, but I loved how after Clash at the Castle he came out and he goes, "All I want to, no, I quit," and he just hopped out of the ring, and it was more effective than a 15-minute promo of him destroying everything. Like the downside, and obviously we're talking about all three of the shows here as like a lump sum. The downside to it was obviously they announced CM Punk coming back on SmackDown because they were live in Chicago, and his pop was huge. But when Punk screws Drew, you see everything. It's happening on your TV screen. You're watching as it occurs. Mm-hmm. And so far, whenever Drew gets his comeuppance on Punk, he's already done it, and he's just like throwing him over his shoulder and bringing him out to the, And I would have liked to have seen Drew come back at like Money in the Bank and have CM Punk say, like, I've been cleared and Adam Pearce has given me, put me in that match, right? That way Drew could screw him at Money in the Bank.
I
And
mean,
I would
you can still do that.
well, they're not going to. In fact, if you heard, there was at the Clash of the Castle press conference, someone asked CM Punk if he wanted to be in like Hell in the Cell against Drew McIntyre. He goes, "Hell no! I just want to be in a match with the guy, and I want to beat the hell out of him. Like I don't want to. I don't want to do ladder matches. I don't want to do Hell in a Cell. Like the fact is maybe a no disqualification match that we can just beat the hell out of each other. But I, you know, why would this is why I'm glad that we're not doing fantasy booking here. Okay, this is why I like real booking, because obviously you start off with an actual match, and I get exactly what he's saying. I also think it's because he's trying to protect himself, because every time he's in a specialty kind of match, he seems to get hurt. You know, and I like when he was jumping off of like the top, like the second rope down, but he was doing it and he was looking like all happy and everything. I was like, he's gonna blow out his ankle. Like I'm just worried that even before he comes back, he's gonna be like, hey, remember how I had that heel injury where I broke a bone in the bottom of my foot? I just did it on the other foot. Sorry guys, I'm out for another 6 months. Like that's what I was waiting for. You know, and I know that I'm being a little sarcastic and everything else when I say that, but I really do get scared when I know that they haven't had a long run without injury in a while. You know, this is why when I said how many matches before Mercedes Moné gets hurt, I mean it, and I don't mean it viciously. I mean it as something that, like, I'm really worried that the girl's going to get hurt. And two things: one, she's not going to be able to wrestle the long-term thing that she probably wants to, and two, they're going to pay her an exorbitant amount of money to not wrestle, and they've already done that. So anyways, back to Raw. You know, we had some of the Money in the Bank qualifier matches. It looks like Hunter is really pushing Io Sky.
I don't know why he's got all these other. I was kind of hoping a Money in the Bank for the females, somebody new, and I'm thinking this is Tiffy time, and not, and no pun intended. I think it's Tiffany Stratton's time to shine.
I do too, and I think they know that. I think that they're setting it up to where she should be the favorite.
Because what do you think of them matching her up with
Nia Jax?
Yeah, so Nia, I guess that Nia's is the Diesel to her Shawn Michaels. Is that what we're doing?
I don't. Well, no, because obviously the Diesel's already like in line for the championship, because she gets SummerSlam. Now, I could totally see where Tiffany Stratton makes her think that she's got her back. She's watching her back, doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, right after Nia Jax wins that belt at SummerSlam, Tiffy time happens, and Tiffy rolls her up really quick for a 1-2-3, and suddenly we have Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam as the women's world champion. And I could totally see that being the way that they played that out.
Yeah, but you think you got to give Nia her rematch? Tiffy's not going to beat Nia.
Tiffany right now is still a heel, right? Now it could do one of two things. Tiffany could win that belt. She's going to get a cheer because she's beating Nia, who's probably the biggest female heel right now, right? So you get that huge cheer for Tiffany, and then Nia beats her down week in, week out, and maybe you start having like the conniving baby face, you know, like Eddie Guerrero when he would lie, cheat, and steal was a baby face. So I could totally see them using that similar thing where Tiffany Stratton sits there, throws a chair over to Nia Jax, then falls down, and the referee's disqualifying Nia Jax out of her rematch. You know, I could see something like that. And we haven't used that very much. So it works.
Got it. Okay.
You know, and we haven't seen that with a woman. So I mean, it would work even better if someone like Tiffany started sitting there doing stuff like that. And then while the referee's got his back turned to her, she's like, you know, from the ground.
Yeah. Well, that's SmackDown. Let's go back to Raw. I just
Yeah.
jumped off that EO sky.
I,
I'm wondering because EO, I, I'm wondering what they're doing with damage control now because EO Sky said last week damage control has to change and she's going to do it if she has to. So I'm wondering if they're going to break up, if she separates herself from the group.
well, you
What do
got a
you
couple
think?
issues. The fact is she's winning her matches, and the rest of Damage Control's losing every match that they're in. Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane haven't won a match since Io Sky lost the women's title. So I think that it's pretty safe to say that they're headed for a breakup.
Yeah.
And we could be wrong. I mean, we don't know how long Asuka's going to be out because if Asuka comes back, like who does she go with? Does she go with Io Sky or does she go with Kairi Sane?
Ooh, probably Kairi.
Yeah, because I mean they're the Kabuki Warriors, right? So I mean, like I can see it going either way, but that's how you change damage control. You put Asuka back in charge. So, anyways, Lyra Valkyria, I think is another. I think she's a dark horse to win the Money in the Bank.
Yes, I couldn't think. Yes.
The other one that Blair Davenport, they ended up having in one of the matches, and she just lost. Like, oh, okay. That was on SmackDown, though, wasn't it?
Think so. Yeah, she's on SmackDown.
That was against Bianca and whoever Bianca went up against. There wasn't a lot more with Raw. I thought that the show itself was solid. I thought that I thought that everything ran smoothly. It didn't feel like a 3-hour show by the time it was over. I was like, oh wow, that's done.
Last week we were saying, remember, because I was like, okay, it looks like that the Wyatt Six was going to debut Monday, and it did. But remember, I think you said they should do it at the top of an hour and not at the end of the show. And what the fuck did they do?
End of the show.
Now,
and not just end of the show.
That might be. But now that I think about it, people watched all the way through because they knew that the Wyatt were coming. But that was a good show too, though. So I don't really think it. I don't think it mattered.
Well, let's dissect this a little bit. We also had Chad Gable finally breaking up with the rest of Alpha Academy, and that led to some speculation as to why the Wyatt Six actually beat up Chad Gable. So first things first, because there's also rumor that Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser were also two of the people that were knocked down in the back.
There's those Carmelo, Pierce. Somebody said Triple H, but I didn't see him.
Carmelo wouldn't have been there. Carmelo's on the other show.
No, somebody said that was Carmelo, and it looked like Carmelo laying, or it might have been what's her name, Ivy, because they had the braided hair. It might have been Ivy. I think that's why everybody thought it was Carmelo.
Interesting. So, I mean, it could have been Katana Chance and Caden Carter, for all we know. No. But and they said surprisingly absent was Braun Strowman at that point. I don't know what they're trying to say about this group because there's a couple things here that I don't like. Okay. I don't like that they're all wearing masks of some sort. Now, granted, Eric Rowan can get away with it because he's wearing pretty much the same mask he was wearing before.
If you looked at the mask, though, the mask represents the Firefly Funhouse, though.
I agree, and I know that, but when they take the masks off, it's still Joe Gacy, it's still Dexter Lumis. So how do you sell the story that these characters are now completely different characters? How do you tell me that Bo Dallas is now Uncle Howdy? How do you tell me that Nikki Cross is now Sister Abigail? Like, and that's where part of the problem lies. The other part of the problem that I have with it is, are they baby faces because they beat up the heels? Because Chad Gable looked dead. Like, He was bleeding from his forehead. He's bleeding from his mouth. He's bleeding from everywhere. And all I can sit there and think is, there's no way that a babyface group would beat up people like that and bloody them and bludgeon them and be a babyface group. So the only thing I can think is that they basically just said, we're even worse than all the other heels.
Stone Cold was a babyface, and he beat the shit out of people and hit people with automobiles.
No, he got hit by an automobile.
He blew up the X-Buster. Yeah, I mean, but he fucking hit people. Eddie Guerrero was a face. He fucked people up. The Rock was a face. He fucked people up.
But there's a difference there, man. They never did it backstage beating you up. They did it to your face. That's the babyface way. If you're gonna one up somebody on something, you do it to their face.
Oh, he got hit in the face. He saw that shit coming.
It just didn't make sense. Okay. And okay, so now we have to assume these guys are supposed to start wrestling again, right? Well, Joe Gacy, I could give two shits about. Now, maybe in this group, I like him a little bit more. I don't know. I like Eric Rowan being in it. I like it being Bo Dallas. I even like Nikki Cross being part of it because she was part of Schism. Which kind of makes sense that this would be where she would end up. Joe Gacy being part of was he part of Gallus?
No, he had his own thing. He's what was it? They had the mask.
Yeah. So and they had the buttons and shit.
Yeah. Dexter Lumis was supposed to be Psycho.
What I want them to do with this group is this. I want them to have a manager, and it has to be somebody that can actually pull this off. But I want it to be their psychiatrist. And their psychiatrist has put them under this spell that now they think they're these other people. In a very Joker and Harley Quinn kind of way. Which leads me to who I think number 6 is, which I think it could be Alexa Bliss.
That's what everybody thinks. I don't know.
Well, but think about it. The last couple times we really saw Alexa Bliss before, the weird like black stuff coming out of her mouth and everything at WrestleMania against Randy Orton. The last time we really saw her, she was going to psychology. She was going to a psychologist, right? So what if she says that when she's been out, she went ahead, she got her psychiatrist degree, and now she's their doctor, and she's basically brought out the spirit of Bray in all of these 5 other people. Trust me, it's a hard sell and it's hard to get over. The thing is that the presentation was excellent, but I kind of got to go with Jim Cornette here, where he says, if you want to make a fucking horror movie, make a fucking horror movie.
Really? You're going to agree with Jim Cornette?
Hey, dude, Jim Cornette,
he's out of touch, though. It's the same motherfucker that made the fucking fried chicken reference. I lost kind of respect for Jim Cornette.
I mean, he is the guy that actually had Colonel Parker come out with Harlem Heat. So even back in the 80s, he wasn't exactly all there. But anyways, it was an interesting visual, but it's now, what do you do with that? And that's what I'm worried about. Now, they do have a really good opportunity here, Tino. And remember when Bray Wyatt was the Fiend?
Yeah.
And they did that one thing where all of a sudden the lights turned red.
Yes. I remember you saying that as long as the lights are red, he should be invincible. And then when they go off, he should be human.
So what if the Wyatt 6, as long as that lantern is lit, they're invincible? But if the opponent sits there and somehow blows it out, that's when they become human again. Like the urn for the Undertaker.
That could be.
Like, they have to have a vulnerability because otherwise they should never lose. Or if they lose, it's by disqualification because they just bludgeon people to death. The fact that Chad Gable's going to be wrestling this week, I love. I saw a meme. It was Chad Gable as a zombie, and it said Chad Gable has been cleared to wrestle from death.
Oh.
So, what are your thoughts? Because I sat here and I just took that over. So
I'm interested to see where they go from here. You know, I like what they did so far. I like the introduction. I like the whole Easter eggs that they dropped. I like you said, they got Eric Rowan there. I like the fact that he had the hammer, like from the Bludgeon Brothers, who paid tribute to uh to
Luke,
Luke Harper. I like
Brody.
all the touches they did. I think they did a good job. I like the fact that they used Bray's music. You know what I'm saying? The little things they did. I also find it humorous that it came on after the Jey Uso match. You see Jey Uso after he said, "Did you see them? They're there. I got to get out of here. You guys can have the Fireflies back." I like the way he played into it.
Well, you liked that. A lot of the pundits basically said they couldn't stand the fact that they went cheesy after they just did this crazy presentation where everybody should have been trying to run out of there. Like, I could have.
Oh, he was trying to run out of there.
Well, but see, that would have been something where you actually have the person with the microphone sitting there going, "Jay, if I could just get a minute with you," and he's like, "Yeah, but you got to keep up." You know, like I would have been like that. You know, I would have not. I don't know. It just that kind of took away from it for me. Not a lot or anything, but enough where I was like, I don't like the fact that they did an interview afterwards when everybody in Gorilla was beat up and bloodied. You think we see them again tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we didn't see them on SmackDown where they enhanced security.
I I'm interested because I think they're going to try to use them as at first sparingly. So I don't think they will. I'm hoping they come out tonight and kind of, if Uncle Howdy speaks or whatever, says anything, just to kind of, hey, we're here. You know, think I don't know where they go from here.
I
How do they introduce them again?
what's funny is if ECW was still on Sci-Fi Channel, this would be like the perfect gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember when they first went to Sci-Fi and Sci-Fi was telling them they needed to have like a zombie and a vampire and all that kind of crazy shit on there, and they had Bruce Pritchard come out as a dirty zombie.
Yes.
The Sandman just came out and like caned him.
Yes. Yes.
like this gimmick would be perfect for that. But you know what this gimmick is perfect for? A fucking horror movie. Not necessarily wrestling matches.
Well, that's what they was trying. I think that's the thing that Bray was going for before he passed away.
Sure.
I think they're
trying to honor it, but
yeah.
But will it have legs? Is it going to be a short-term thing, or is this going to be something where, because I could see the demon Finn Balor being part of it if they really wanted to go all supernatural and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the supernatural side, like, you can only take it so far before people either get bored of it, because I mean, like, the way that people were explaining it online was that like all these wrestlers hang out with each other backstage and they do TikToks and they do this and they do that. Like, now granted, I'm going to say since the Wyatt Six thing started, I hadn't seen any of them except maybe Nikki Cross walking around in the background.
Right.
But and like that sold the gimmick a little bit better, was the fact that we hadn't seen Bo Dallas, but apparently he's been under contract for the entire time. Dexter Loomis, we haven't seen in over a year, and like so again, I guess the question is going to end up being like what do they do with it? So, anyways,
Yeah.
NXT. NXT on Tuesday started with a battle royal to determine the number one contender for the NXT title against Trick.
Here's my question. Because
Good.
remember, they were saying Matt Hardy, Matt Hardy, Matt Hardy. So you think they said Matt Hardy to throw us the swerve of who really showed up? Because everybody's thinking Matt Hardy, and so when say his name and he appears showed up, nobody was expecting that, and Matt Hardy never showed up.
Probably. And you know what? I don't know if any of the stuff that ever said Matt Hardy was showing up in NXT was from WWE.
True.
If it was from WWE, then yes, I totally think that they did that as a way to throw us off. But it was nice seeing Frankie Kazarian in that match. Like Frankie's been around for a really long time and hadn't made a WWE appearance since God knows when. So, and the only downside with that is that Frankie Kazarian got thrown out with 3 other people still left in the ring, and it would have been really interesting to see someone like Frankie Kazarian make it all the way to the end, and it was him and the NXT guy. And I know it's one of the newer guys that ended up winning. But it would have been more interesting if it came down to Frankie and him. If you were going to have Frankie last until like the last 4, I would have had him the last guy to get eliminated. Because then the entire time you're thinking, oh shit, we might have a TNA guy going after the NXT title.
Mm-hmm.
But
I knew that wasn't going to happen. They keep teasing that. I mean, they keep bringing these people back.
They had a woman from TNA go after the women's title.
That's what I'm saying. They keep teasing that these people from TNA are going after these titles, are going to take these titles. Eventually, they're going to have to pull the trigger.
I think what we're going to end up seeing is we're going to see that underutilized talent from WWE starts going to these places and putting on, similar to how Shayna Baszler's been coming down to NXT or Natalia's been coming back down to NXT again. I kind of think that we're going to see them in the, because like they already announced. They announced AJ Styles for Noah, and
they had I cannot remember her name that used to be with Lyra Valkyria, the crazy chick that was in love with Lyra.
Yeah.
And then she came out and cost she cost that match.
Right. She was one of the 2 that cost the match. It was her and Dana Brooke, although it's not Dana Brooke anymore.
She went to their pay-per-view, the TNA pay-per-view, and went against
Jordan
for the title.
Yeah.
So they are crossing, and I see that with Triple H, I guess they're more open to the forbidden door, as AEW would call it. You know what I'm saying? And doing those cross promotions.
Well, they've now worked with Josh Barnett's Bloodsport over WrestleMania weekend. Shayna Baszler ended up choking somebody out at that. They've obviously now had some of the TNA crossover stuff, which is huge for TNA because TNA's got really bad TV. Like their programming is really good, but it's on a really bad channel to show it. And they just changed their subscription plan for their YouTube thing. So I don't even think that's a great option now. But but now like I said, they've Io Sky has been announced for something in Japan. AJ Styles has been announced for Noah. So I mean, like they're and it's interesting because normally you would think that they would send people that weren't being used, like old school WCW with New Japan, sending like Muda, back to Japan or whatever, or
right.
using Muda here, but sending Mike Awesome over there, kind of stuff. Now WWE is actually sending some of their top talent. I mean, Io Sky was just the women's champion, and AJ Styles just had 2 matches for the men's undisputed championship. So the fact that they're actually sending like top talent over to different places is even crazier than just going, hey, we've got all this talent. We can go ahead and send you these guys because they just need more reps. They're actually sending really good people to represent the brand. So I don't know. You said it's Triple H. I don't think it's just Triple H. I think it's also Nick Khan. I think Nick Khan sees a lot of money in crossover promoting as well.
Well, why didn't Khan cross over with the other Khan?
I don't think you'll see that. And the reason why is because, honestly, the reason behind it is because Tony Khan does not like anything that the WWE has said about him over the past, I don't know how long. They've made agreements too, because the Big Show, Chris Jericho, all these different Mark Henry, they've all shown up on WWE things like the biography show and Renee Paquette still shows up from time to time on the rivalry show. So although I think those episodes are just like canned episodes that have been there for a while, the fact that these people are actually showing up, they're all contracted to Tony Khan. So as long as it's not a direct wrestling show, Tony Khan has apparently been cool with a bunch of it. But it works both ways. If all of a sudden WWE said, "Hey, we want to take somebody and put them in our Hall of Fame," like there's a possibility that they would allow it, but they've got to be able to say AEW or something on the programming. I don't know. But by the way, and you mentioned to me off air that the Joe Hendry thing you thought was kind of lackluster because, yes, he showed up. Yes, he got the little bit of promo time that none of the other people did. And then he got tossed out almost immediately. But, one of the things that you always hear in those situations is if the guy's not going to have any chance of winning it anyway, it's better to just get it because you don't want him taking from what the ending of that match is meant to be. And if Joe Hendry had lasted to like the last 5 or 6 people and then he doesn't win, I mean, that crowd was going to be all about Joe Hendry at that point. So the fact that they get him in and out, and then they gave him the promo time with Shawn Michaels in the backstage area, like Shawn Michaels sitting there going, "I believe," it's cool, not Carlito cool, but cool. So that's
cool. It's cool.
So that's my take on all of that. I saw that John Bradshaw Layfield actually said when he decides to make his comeback that he wants Joe Hendry to write his theme music. He goes, 25 million views. Of course I want him to write my theme music. So yeah. I found it weird though that Ethan Page seems to have gotten himself all the way back into the World Cup picture in NXT. We haven't seen him go up against anybody except Trick Williams, and yet they had a number 1 contenders match, and now he's beaten up the number 1 contender, so he suddenly gets like the 1A contendership.
I think they're trying to, because I think he is the biggest name that they have so far, and I think they're ready to push Trick up, so they need to put that belt on somebody.
Sure. It's I mean, it to me, the only thing I think is that I feel like he should have had some matches up to the championship. I did surprise. Oh shit, Ethan Page is here, because I mean, just a couple weeks before that, we were seeing him on Ring of Honor television or whatever Ring of Honor's on now. But again, it's one of those things where, like, yes, he's a bigger name than just about everybody else that they have on their roster currently, because the roster is depleted. So they've got to work their way back up to it, right? I think that's why you also saw Cody Rhodes on the show 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but it's I don't know. It's still got to be a little hurtful to the people that are already there, that are
Yeah.
like, I could be a one-off, person to go against Trick Williams and blah blah blah, and or hell, just bring somebody back down from the main roster, for a match. So Ethan Page getting that spot, like, kind of took away from what I think some other people are doing down there. The other thing I don't like that's going on right now, and I think it's because AJ Styles just got written off the program while he goes to do this match in Japan, is the fact that, like, all of the rest of the OC are jobbers at this point. Michin, jobber. The Good Brothers, jobbers. I mean, they lose every match that they're in NXT. They're not even winning in NXT.
Yeah.
Like, I get the hey, we're making money and we're bringing some of the younger people up to our level. I get that, because I mean, the matches that they've had have been stellar. Like, I've enjoyed all of them, but I still feel like you're talking about a multi-time World Tag Team Championship team, and they can't get the job done against some of these new up-and-comers like Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I don't think that's right.
Well, they got to keep Axiom and Frazier looking strong. You know what I'm saying? If they're not going to, if they're not coming back full time, which they obviously weren't, because I'm sure when AJ comes back, they'll do something with them. They need to keep who they have strong, and I think that goes back to, we just talked about, you got Ethan Page down there. They need to be building people, so I think that goes part of keeping Axiom and Nathan looking strong.
I mean,
So
sure.
I kind of agree with the booking.
So who do you think is the next person from AEW to make their way over to WWE? Based on what we've been seeing recently.
If they don't do right, I think Swerve's going to go back.
Wow. I think Swerve's locked up for a while.
I mean,
because I'll tell you who I think the next one is.
I think it needs to be Britt.
Well, it's not going to be, because she's going to stay with Adam, and we
I think he needs to go back too.
Well, we haven't seen either of them in like a year actually wrestle. So
I don't know. Who do you think?
Ricky Starks.
I could see that.
And it's interesting, because the last time Ricky Starks got mentioned by Tony Khan, he said, we'd love to bring Ricky back to AEW. Which leads me to wonder, what does that mean? We'd love to bring him back. Like, is he not under contract at this point? Is he out hurt? Like, that's very interesting wording. So anyway, tell you who I don't want to see come back is this Learning Tree Jericho. Whoa. Let's talk about SmackDown. Was it just me, or was SmackDown one of the best SmackDowns that they have put on in a really long time?
I think starting off with Paul Heyman and CM Punk was phenomenal. I like CM Punk came out. I like that Paul Heyman came down, and he's trying to talk to CM Punk. He goes, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to do you a favor. And I just need you to do one thing for me. And before he can get it out, the bloodline came down, and CM Punk started to talk shit. And he goes, hey, Paul, what is that one favor you wanted from me? And he said, take me with you. That was it for me, dude. I lost it. That was awesome. I'm like, how did Solo not whoop his ass after that? Like they got run off, and he's still left with Solo, and Solo's looking at him. I'm like, you're gonna die.
Well, and then Solo said something to him about it later. It's
Yeah.
like he's like, "Oh no, you ain't leaving yet. You gotta go. You gotta go fix this."
That whole and the whole just gave him a hug. He goes, "Thank you. I needed that." I mean, Paul Heyman is just genius.
Dude, he is doing his best work right now, and it's crazy because like they have tried to use him and get people over in so many ways that did not work. Curtis Axel, Cesaro, like randomly all of a sudden you're a Paul guy and then not a Paul guy. Like uh, so there's been times where they try to use him to get people over and it just does not work. And yet here, I think he is the glue holding that new bloodline together in a way where they're actually a believable badass group, because they haven't won any matches and they haven't been as badass as everyone seems to think. The only thing badass that they've done so far was off screen when Kevin Owens rolled down to the ring with all the blood all over him.
Yeah.
That's and so again, the same thing that they did with Drew and Punk. Like, oh, it was off screen, so now we can roll in with the blood on him. Kind of boring to me. The matches that they had, the Carmelo Hayes actually sneaking out the victory against Randy Orton and Tama Tonga was kind of nice. The Kevin Owens, who was Kevin Owens in the ring with?
Was he with another one of the Bloodline members?
I think it was Andrade. And
yeah.
Yeah, and he got beat up by the Bloodline, so of course, he still looked like his badass self by getting in there and whooping up on people, but didn't have enough left in the tank to beat everybody.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that. And then the main event, you ended up having Cody Rhodes against Solo in a singles match, and we got another new member of the Bloodline.
Jacob Fatu.
Except, if you watch the video again, look at what Tama and Tongaloa.
They were scared shitless. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were like,
I don't know if it was scared shitless or if it was, we're not exactly into this guy being part of this group. But it could just be because, he's the Samoan werewolf. Right? So, and then of course there's how many more that might still join this group?
There's one more Fatu brother.
Hikulea?
No, that's not a Fatu brother. The Hikulea is what's his name? Other son. No, it was the other the Usos and Solo's other brother.
Oh.
There's another one. There's Jacob and there's one more.
Marlon?
It is almost 10:30. I'm at an hour and a half. I don't have time for your dumbass jokes. Let's go.
All right. But it was interesting seeing Jacob Fatu actually make his WWE debut. If you go online, you can actually watch videos of him actually giving the Samoan drop to people like Bronson Reed. So to think about that, he's not as big as Bronson Reed, and he's able to pick him up and just slam him down with a Samoan drop. Pretty crazy. But like I said, the whole SmackDown just seemed like a really good show this week. Apparently they have a new head writer, and they said that he came out of the gate strong. So I really enjoyed that. Now, before we move on, Tino, you were telling me, and I had seen it already, but I wasn't sure if there was any confirmation on it, but you were talking to me about a statement that Triple H apparently made.
Yes. So it was said, and I read it somewhere, I've also heard it, and I saw that you put it on Facebook too, that now with the new Netflix deal, they're going to come out of that PG era and they're going to be able to apparently just curse. And obviously they probably won't have nudity, but they'll be able to say, like I was saying earlier, like shit and fuck, because I was saying like when The Rock came back, he was saying these things, but they were bleeping them out. I think now that they're on Netflix, because they have other shows on Netflix that has foul language, profanity, I think we'll be able to go back to somewhat of an attitude ish era as long language and probably be able to do more mature content along the lines of what they were doing in the attitude era.
I agree. I think that, and I think we've all been saying that we kind of anticipate some of that stuff anyway. Um, the the um the
Because that's the era that Triple H came up in.
well, there was also one of the statements at the end of that entire statement was that he still said for all audiences, and they know that, and in fact they really know that their bread and butter is that 18 and younger group. And the reason why that they really know this is because, hell, with them going to the CW in October for NXT, they're hoping to get that teeny bopper group to watch their programming.
Mm-hmm.
So they know that that's coming, and they know so don't be surprised if you see more family friendly material on NXT from time to time, because they're going for that 16-year-old crowd rather than what they normally go for with some of the other ones, because they always say that the 18 to 48 area is what they want.
Right.
But we all know if you don't have that 12-year-old that's watching the program by the time they turn 18, they're not going to watch that program by the time they turn 18, right? So you have to get them on there early. But at the same time, I think that, yes, you're going to see probably the later hour of Raw will probably have more a darker tone. But I think that the earlier hours will still be something that, especially if they stick to like a Monday night at 8 to 11, I think that you're still going to see that 8 to 10 range. They're still trying to stick with something a little more family friendly, with the occasional Rock drop in and sit there and drop an F-bomb.
But you think it'll just be The Rock that is going to be dropping the F-bombs?
I don't think that. So first of all, I don't think you're going to really see any F-bombs on WWE programming that aren't bleeped. Just because advertisers still want them to be a family-friendly product.
So what does this mean then? So so
We're about to find out. we got 6 months and we're gonna find out. So but I think we've already started seeing it, right? Like even now, like everybody was talking about how the WWE programming since The Rock came back had already been a little bit darker.
mm-hmm.
And we've seen blood on there on multiple occasions now. And they said we're going to use it sparingly, but it's been almost like a weekly occurrence. So, but it's still only once per night. It's not like, oh, 6 matches are going to have a chair shot to the head, because
Right.
they're still not doing that. So, and so far, every time we've seen the blood, it's been off camera, and then they roll in with the blood.
You're not gonna let that go.
No. But and by the way, it's called fridging. Uh, it's things happening off screen to implicate that things are worse than they actually show up to be when they get onto the screen. It's like silhouetting a sequence in a comic book so that way you can see like the punch and the blood coming out of the mouth, but when they they don't actually show red blood. It's just a black image on with like a white background. So they do that and they silhouette it so that way it gets past censors. It's very similar to the movie Kill Bill. They wanted to give it an NC-17 rating, but because Quentin Tarantino went to black and white for certain sequences, and they showed it as just like black and white action and blood going everywhere, you couldn't tell that it was blood, so it's not as bad.
Gotcha.
It's just an old Hollywood trick. Anything else on WWE, or you want to move over to the other one?
I'm good.
Anything on any AEW programming that you want to talk about?
I'm interested to see because they have their pay-per-view.
Sunday.
Yes, I'm interested to see the Swerve Osprey match because
It'll be
Osprey hasn't lost, Swerve hasn't lost. Do we see this title switch already? Because they haven't been doing shit really with Swerve, and it seems like they're pushing Osprey. They're pushing Osprey, and now and then if Osprey wins, he'll have 2 fucking titles.
Well, and I liked how he actually talked about that because obviously they don't typically like to have a champion with 2 titles because how do you defend both of them? And he was like, "Bro, did you see me during the pandemic? I had like 5 belts and I defended all of them. In fact, I had five-star matches in a week at one point, and he did. Now granted, that was Dave Meltzer giving him the Osprey extra point just for being Will Osprey, just like the Kenny Omega bonus. But I venture to say here, honestly, you know what I'd like to see is something that we never see in AEW.
A Swerve.
No, we see him weekly, but I know what you mean. I'd love to see it end in a no contest, so that they have to run it back at All In.
Okay. Do they take the belt off him at All In then? You know what I'm saying? Are they gonna let Osprey take this belt from him? Yes, they are. And you know the answer to that just like I did.
I'd hate to be Tony Khan having that conversation backstage with Swerve Strickland. Like I would hate to have that conversation because nobody, I guess nobody but maybe Osprey has been doing what Swerve has done. You know what I mean? Like Swerve has been on a 2-year run, and Osprey has been on a 8-month run because that's about how long he's been there. It's the only other thing I could see happening is Hangman gets involved, and then you have a 3-way dance.
Didn't think about that.
And you make it a 2-fall match, and you make both titles on the line, and you see like Hangman end up winning that international title, and then you see like Osprey win the other title, and in neither situation does Swerve get pinned, so the Swerve doesn't lose any of his heat, and he gets to have a rematch afterwards. Like that to me would be shitty booking, but sizable enough to where I if it's both belts on ladders, both belts being hung and it's a ladder match with all 3 of them, I could see that being how they do it. What do you think?
That'd be the only way he could save face if it's a 3-way, and either it's a ladder match or a 3-way, and somebody else gets the pin. He doesn't take the pin. He doesn't eat the pin. It keeps him strong, but I just don't see. I don't think they need to take it off of him right now, but they need to make him look more relevant as a champion. Like when Joe had it, he was relevant. He started the show or he ended the show. Same thing with MJF, started the show or ended the show. But then when it comes to Swerve, man, he comes in second or third segment, sometimes in the middle of the show. He has a match for the championship, but it's not the main event. It's just they're doing him dirty.
I 100% agree, and he doesn't deserve it. And I don't know what the reasoning behind it from Tony Khan is, other than like he licks John Moxley's asshole.
Yep.
You know, like the IWGP World Title should not be after the AEW World Title on any card. The
Yeah.
the only titles that I would say are above where the AEW World Title should be on any card would be if either of the WWE's World Titles were being defended on the same card. That's the only time that I see WWE, WWE, AEW, New Japan, and then maybe TNA. Like that to me would probably be the like how you do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one other thing about AEW I wanted. Oh, I do want to talk about something, and it's not about a specific match or anything else. But why in the hell does AEW ever announce a match to be a no disqualification?
What do you mean?
Do you know how many disqualifications they've had in their entire run of 5 years? They've had one. The Captain Shawn Dean beat MJF by disqualification. In 5 years, they've had one match end by disqualification. So why in the fuck would you ever announce Thunder Rosa versus Deonna Purrazzo no disqualification? Why would you ever announce Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland no disqualification? You're not going to disqualify anybody anyway.
What the fuck are you talking about? Are you marking for WWE again?
No, I'm literally talking about something that annoys the piss out of me. The fact that like they announce it as we're gonna have a no disqualification match. Bitch, you never disqualify anybody. Like they've had one, dude. I'm serious. One disqualification in 5 years. Why would any match be a no disqualification match?
I seem to remember disqualifications on Rampage and the Collision. We've already established you only watch damn Dynamite because you don't like the other two.
There was one.
On the Dynamite that you watched.
I looked it up.
Oh, Jesus.
They've had one match. They've had one match end in disqualification.
Where did you look this up? Where did you? No, don't look it up now. We've gone over an hour and a half. I'll hang up on you.
Tell you.
I gotta be up 6 o'clock. Don't look that shit up right now. I'll hang up right now.
I'm telling you, dude. They've incredible stat on disqualification finishes. Incredible stat on disqualification finishes on AEW. There has been one in the history of AEW. One.
What are you looking at?
That's Wrestle Talk. Has AEW ever had a disqualification? Tony Khan has admitted that the promotion underutilizes disqualification and countout finishes for a reason. Almost every AEW match ends in either a 3 count or a tap out.
Ever had a DQ? Has AEW ever had a DQ?
I told you which one it is. They've had one.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't they? They got an interview with the referee. I'll read this later. They got an interview with referee Rick Knox on why they don't do.
Tony Khan has said that he always wants an actual finish to the match. So my point and what I'm angry about is the fact that they announced no disqualification matches, but they don't disqualify anybody.
Well, if that's the case, then we know why.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as saying a no holds barred match. No holds are barred anymore anyway. Why would you ever call it a no holds barred match? Call it a street fight.
Well, a street fight means you gotta. I don't know.
I miss
Okay,
days where street fights actually went out to the street. By the way, I miss those days,
those are now called parking lot brawls.
and I'm okay with that too. Except the parking lot brawl starts in the parking lot. A street fight still has to end somewhere in the ring.
I thought street fights were. Are street fights?
Are
You
they
pin
false
them
count
anywhere.
anywhere?
I think they're false
I don't.
count anywhere.
You know what? It's probably one of those things where the rules change every time the match is, so you have to wait until the announcer announces what the rules are.
And I hit the wrong button earlier. I meant to do stop camera, and I accidentally didn't.
But you bounced off. I was like,
I hit leave. I hit leave studio, and I was like, wait a minute, why did it go blank? I was like, oh shit.
dude, I saw you bounce off, and I was like, he's really gone.
I didn't mean it. I was trying to do stop camera.
And the whole time I'm just sitting there going, and here it is for everyone. It just blows my mind because because we had the conversation about how many times a match ended with a disqualification, and then since then they've had at least, from what I've seen on their different programs, they've had at least 5 no disqualification matches, and I'm like, why the fuck is it like all their matches are no disqualification?
Just let them be them.
I mean, I guess the point is that the other match could end in a disqualification, but Tony Khan is just never going to let it happen. Yeah, exactly. He's playing the nose flute. Exactly. All right. Yeah, that was really I guess the only other thing I really wanted to talk about here. I know that I guess they announced Hikaru Shida's coming back. The one I want to see is Jamie Hayter come back. I don't.
Yeah, she's been. Where has she been?
She's been gone. I don't know. Like, she lost that match to Toni Storm. Haven't seen her since. Kind of like Britt Baker. Like,
I think Britt Baker. I think Britt got hurt.
I don't think Britt did get hurt. I think she asked for the time off to take care of Adam Cole. I mean, she might have been hurt at the beginning and just resting injuries, but we haven't seen her since.
Well, I mean, Adam's been back. Like, he hasn't been wrestling, but he's been back. So why?
Well, I mean, you saw it like I did the night that he came out and watched Max lose the world title to Samoa Joe. She sat there and said, "Oh, this is a miracle. This is the guy that couldn't do the dishes earlier today, but yet he's able to stand up at the pay-per-view and help Maxwell Jacob Friedman lose his match."
Kayfabe.
No, she was still sticking with the kayfabe there.
Yeah.
She wasn't ruining it. She said he couldn't get up to do the dishes. Oh man. Yeah, I don't think I got anything else, Tino.
I don't either.
You want to tell everybody how they can find you?
Is it not at the bottom of the screen?
No, that's just how to get the merch.
Oh, fuck. All right. So I'm on Twitter /X, HootieFan91. I'm on the Insta SC Tino. Same thing with the Snapchat. I'm also on TikTok, Tino Gray Music.
Oh, you're on the Snapchat now?
Yeah, I was on the Snapchat, but I'm not, well, no, I have Snapchat. I'm not really on it, but I am on Insta.
I just look at other people's Snapchat.
Yeah, me too. I don't put shit on there.
Every so often I'll put a meal.
I got it because I made my kids friend me so I can make sure they're, well, Haley's an adult now, but Matthew, I'm like, what the fuck you doing, bruh? So, yep, those are mine.
What about you? TikTok?
I said TikTok, Tino Gray Music.
I didn't remember hearing you say it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So my TikTok is Rob Potsy Podcheck. My Twitch is Rob Potsy Podcheck. Some of you might actually be watching us on there. Give us the old like.
Yeah, because Michael hadn't said anything out, and we hadn't seen a couple guys. We haven't seen Barrett, Helios.
Well, we've had a solid audience all night long, and yet nobody has said anything. So,
yeah. Okay.
So Michael, if it's because we didn't say hi back, I apologize. But
he's rude.
But Instagram, both Rob Pochak and Rob Potsy Podcheck. Obviously, here on YouTube, it's Rob Pochak. Give us the old thumbs up, like and subscribe if you can. And then on Twitter /X, I am Pochak. And of course, you can find us on the Potsy and Tino Show Facebook page. Anytime we're not going to be here, that's typically where we post that so that everybody knows that they don't have to wait for us. Hope everybody had a fun time listening to us banter and bullshit for a while. Buy the shirts.
Buy our shit.
Buy our shit.
I had my shirt on the yesterday. Was it yesterday? I had my Potsy and Tino shirt, the one I had on. Matter of fact, from the opening. And I stopped at the gas station and I saw the guy. You know how the dogs. He's like looking at my shirt, trying to figure out what it was. I'm like,
yeah, I like the one that's got us on it because people are always like, "Hey, is that you?" And it's like,
no.
Not do it. There it goes. Folks, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. We had a blast. We always do. Tino will figure out that logging off thing. We'll see you next time. Our theme song again. House Cats called the wrestling song. Tino, say it.
9-9.
There you go. And we are out.
Ready? Ownership contributing to Potsy and Tino.
For the Potsy and Tino Show.
Thanks for watching.